Okay, we're going to try General Practitioner Intruder. We're going to do it on a 1.5 inch stainless steel tube, small diameter tube. First thing we're going to do is line it with our plastic liner tube. We'll just slip the stainless steel tube over and melt the end. Okay, so again, you're just getting a nice little ridge on that. Not sure if you can see that or not. Ridge on the end. Might even burn it a little bit more. Right. See now that the stainless steel tube, it'll slide this way, but because of that bump we put on the end, burned on, it's not going to go that way. So I'll cut it, leaving about 1/2 inch out the front. So you now have the stainless tube and the liner tube coming out the front. You'll notice we're not going to melt the front yet. We'll do that when we finish the fly. Okay, get this onto my mandrel. Right, give it a little squeeze so we know it's secured. And of course the metal tube will slide, but not the plastic. Alright, let's get the metal tube secured to the plastic, and it's really simple. You're just going to add kind of a ridge here, right where the plastic and metal meet. Okay, what I'll do is sometimes just squeeze it up a little bit on that ridge. And that should be all it takes to get the two to be joined enough so that they don't spin while you're tying. Okay, I'll go all the way back to the tube, back to the end of the tube. And I'll leave probably about 1/4 inch. This is going to be a pretty big tube. 1/4 inch is going to be left to connect to our junction tubing. You can see now nothing spins just because of that lip we made of thread. Everything's built up pretty well. Alright, let's put our tail on. Okay, I'm going to go with Lady Amherst center tail fibers. And these feathers always have a short side and then a long side. Okay. I always leave the long side, of course, for the barbs we're going to stick on towards the front of the fly. Just makes more sense. If you put the really long ones back here, you can have a very long, skinny profile of fly. So we're going to go with the shorter ones. Take about 5 or 6 fibers. And you can attach those, just kind of flare them out while you're tying. Okay, we'll spin the other side and do the same thing. Again, about 5 or 6 fibers. Tie it in and then flare it out. Hey, at this point we're going to add a little bit of flash. We're going to go just with pearl crystal flash. Just a few strands. You have to forgive me. It's pretty early in the morning right now when I'm taping this. Still waking up a bit. All right, so just a few fibers, maybe 5 or 6 at the most. And now wherever I put the fibers on, I only put them on one side. That now becomes the bottom of the fly. Just personal preference, no real reason. Okay. Alright, now we're going to add our rib. This is just a flat tinsel, flat silver tinsel. Okay, so we got our rib hanging here, and our black floss. Okay, we're going to go up with the black floss, probably almost 2/3 of the way up the metal tube. Okay, we're just wrapping. Trying to get a nice flat body, but you know, I've never seen a fish that really notices too much if the body is completely flat. So again, about 2/3 of the way up, the metal part of the tube. Okay, and we'll just tie off. Okay, and now we'll come in counter-winding the flat tinsel. Try and get your spacing, uniform. Makes for a nicer looking fly. Alright, at this point we're going to add some more of the Lady Amherst, the orange Lady Amherst. This time I'm going to go with the longer side fibers. Okay, I'm going to do the exact same thing we did to the tail. Just a few on top. Kind of spread them out a little bit. We have some customers that actually burn the Lady Amherst. We find it not necessary. As long as you kind of flare it out while you're tying, it usually stays flared out in the water. We find burning just kind of wrecks the fibers a little bit. Okay, one more clump of 3, 4, or 5 fibers on the other side. Okay, and again, just flare it out. And we're going to move, remember how we said we're going to keep the crystal as the bottom of the fly? The crystal flash, we'll just make sure we're in the right direction here now. Alright, now for the fun stuff. I'm going to add some heron. Okay, this time, we usually use a regular heron with this, but we're going to try this one today with the gray heron. Now, this is a gray heron that's been dyed kind of the goldy orange. This is the natural feather, of course. Okay, regular gray heron, and we sell this in 2 different sizes, the extra large, which is well over 8 inches, and then the large, which is about 5 to 8 inches. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll just trim all the way down, right where it starts getting fuzzy. We'll just pull that off, both sides. So we've got the base of the feather all clean, and now the tip. I'm going to try and find the very tip of the feather. And just gently peel back. You can see a big difference with the gray heron is the barbs are really, especially at the tip of the feather, the barbs are really spread out, which is good for wrapping if you want to wrap on a tube, because of course the tube takes up so much of your material. Alright, we'll tie this in tip first. And I usually just bend the tip back and have it as one of the barbs. Remember, these style of flies, they have fibers going all over the place. So if you have the tip of a feather in there too, it'll just kind of work well with the fly. All right, we're going to add some seal fur dubbing now for the front third of the fly, and going with a really bright orange here. These are nice little packages. We sell the seal fur in now. Easily open and close and reseal, nice and convenient. Hey, you could do this with a dubbing loop if you like. I don't find it necessary. I'm just going to go old school right on the thread. And for this part of the body, I like kind of a bushier look too. So that's why seal's fur is so good. It picks out very nicely, and of course the sparkle behind it's fantastic too. Okay, a little more seal. Okay, and just be careful not to get the heron fibers tied in with your dubbing. makes kind of a mess. I'm going to stop pretty much right where the metal tube joins the plastic tube. Now a lot of people will tie this directly on the metal tube. We like to have the plastic liner out the front. It just gives you a little smaller of a head, which we think looks better. All personal taste, of course. Alright, we're going to take our hair in now. We're going to start winding, and you can see the gray hair is so long, you've got a lot of chances to get wraps here. You kind of just pull back the fibers as you wrap. Some of them are going to get tangled, and some you'll have to pick out a little bit. Okay, so just going forward, nice and even, about the same spacing you had as the rib, or for the rib. And then if we have any feather left, we can do a few wraps at the front of the fly. Okay, and you can see we still have lots of material here, so we'll just wrap the rest of it. I mean, heron's too expensive to waste any of the fibers, so use them all. Okay, and when you run out of fibers, you tie off. Okay, and you can see it looks like an absolute mess right now. Some kind of crazy spider pattern. Okay, we'll just pull back and get all these fibers laying flat. Okay, and you can see what I mean. Some of the fibers get kind of stuck, so just take your scissors and pull them out. It's almost like they get knotted in while you do your wraps. Alright, at this point we're going to add a little bit more flash to the bottom of the fly. Okay, and you can see the flash is going to go on the same side as we had before. This time just everything's a bit longer. We're going to use the longer Amherst fibers, longer crystal flash fibers. And again, the flash is up to you. A lot of guys like to go sparingly. A lot of people have a little more. I would say we're kind of middle of the road. I don't know. But again, whatever you like to do. Alright, at this point, this is where we go for the really crazy longest Amherst we have. And you can see these ones. Very good. Oh, almost 3.5, 4 inches. And this time we're going to go in 3 clumps around the fly. So there's one. Give it a little spread out. Okay, turn the fly just a few degrees. Do the same thing. Spread it out again. Okay, and one more time. Alright, so it's starting to take shape there. And we're actually, you know what, it's looking a little sparse. I'm going to add one more heron feather. I do this sometimes to flies that just kind of look a little bit stringy, a little bit not full-bodied. So I'll take another heron plume, do the exact same thing we did, except we're not palmering over the body now. We're just going to wrap it in as a color. So again, just like we did before, finding the tip and folding back. Okay, tying in from the tip again. This time I'm going to cut the tip because it's pretty goofy looking. Okay, we're going to wrap again, except all in the same place this time. Just pulling back the fibers as we go. So pulling back as you turn. Okay, we'll tie off. And again, you get that crazy fibers going everywhere. Look, we can fix that just by swooping back and building up again. Okay, that's a little bit more body of that fly. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Okay, this is the light version of the GP Intruder that we came up with a few years ago. I like to add a little bit more natural. This is Lady Amherst's side tail. So you get the instead of getting the, well, one side of the feather is the traditional center tail kind of look with the black and white. This one's more like a tiger look, I guess you could say. So I'm going to put a few fibers of that in, just to lighten the fly up a little bit. And we're going to add it just like we did with the orange. 3 clumps around the entire tube, in the round I guess they call it. Okay, and one more. There you go. Alright, we're just about there. Alright, we're going to add the eyes to the fly. You know, most General Practitioner, and definitely the original version, had golden pheasant tippets for the eyes, and we stick to that kind of tradition. So we're going to try and get the biggest ones we can. And I'm going to pluck 2 feathers. Hey, and just like with all General Practitioners, when you use the tippets for eyes, you're going to cut down to the base. And a lot of guys will trim some of these feathers. We leave them in. And you're going to make, now this is 2 feathers I have matted together. You're going to make a cut so you have a V and 2 distinct sets of eyes. Okay, so you're going to cut and save those for another fly, smaller version. Okay, so we've now got a V. Okay, and we're going to put those, again, find the bottom of your fly where the crystal flash is. Okay, so this would be the top. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Okay, and we're going to lay these tent style right on top. Okay, now you can see it's starting to look like a GP if I turn it over. It's got the canopy on top of those eyes. Okay, now just to lighten this fly up a little further, lighten the color up, we're going to add, we've done this with teal, but we like to use mallard too, a well-defined mallard feather. We'll strip down the fuzzies again, and we'll go in from the tip. And you just want a few wraps of this just to lighten the front of the fly up a little bit. Okay, so we got it. And this is a pretty big mallard feather, but all stripped, tied in from the tip. And you're gonna wrap, like I said, maybe 4 or 5 wraps at the most. Okay, and you're gonna tie it off. And pull back and just get it all tidy again. Okay, so it's just starting to, and if you got a few that are kind of dangling all over the place, just wet your fingers, pull them back, just to get them under control. Alright, at this point you can definitely see why we left that 1/2 inch of plastic at the front. The metal's actually ended here, or about here, and just from building the heron and the mallard and putting the wing, or pardon me, the eyes on, we've already taken up a good 1/4 inch, so that's why you definitely want to leave that space there. Always better more than less. Alright, we're going to add the final wing to the fly here, and we've got a golden pheasant skin here. We're going to try and get the biggest feathers we can, and on the golden pheasant skin, of course, most of you know, we got the yellow feathers at the back here, we got the wings, and then what you want is the bright red, natural colored feathers. So we're going to take at least 3, maybe up to 5 large feathers, probably 5 for this one because it's a longer tube, because you want this to make a really definitive top to the fly, just like on a standard General Practitioner. So I'm going to go with 4 here. We'll see how that looks. Right, and so you're going to, just like we did with the tippets, you're going to put all of these feathers, stack them together, just so that they're all about the same length. And if they don't mat together perfectly, that's fine, because when you lay them on, they will kind of come together. Okay, we'll give those a cut. Now for this one, I will take some of the fuzziness away. Not all of it, just still a little bit there. But you can see I've got 4 stems there, and they all have to go on as, I find it easier if you go on as one feather. And you're going to go right over the eyes, the tippet eyes that you just put on a minute ago. Okay, lots of wraps here. You don't want to putting all this time into a general practitioner and all this money, to be honest, with the heron and things like that, to have the wing fall off, it's kind of a shame. Okay, at this point I'm kind of building the final head. All we have to do now is add our jungle clock. But you can see this fly definitely has a top to it. Okay, so it's, even though it's got fibers going everywhere, it's still covered over with a shell back, just like the normal, or pardon me, the original GP had. Alright, we're going to add our jungle cock. And my rule of thumb, although everybody's different, bigger the fly, I like to go bigger the nail of jungle cock. So we've got our cape here, big cape, or big nails up here, smaller at the bottom, of course. We're going to go, towards the bigger side. I'm going to find 2 that are nicely colored. Okay, and we'll trim them. Well, I want them to go further back. So if you think about it, GP was kind of invented as a prawn or a shrimp pattern. And if you ever look at a prawn or shrimp, their eyes aren't up here. They're well back here. So we try and pull these back pretty far. I don't know if it really matters, but it, if you're thinking about a prawn fly and you're using jungle cock to semi-represent eyes, the further back the better. Okay, and I have seen some talented tyers put jungle cock on both sides at the same time. I'll be honest with you, that never works for me. I go jungle cock on one side and your jungle cock cheek on the other side. Okay, and then we just give it a spin to see if both sides kind of look pretty much the same. Again, we'll just wet our fingers a bit, pull the fibers over. Yeah, and I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm just going to finish the head now. And you can see that, comparatively for the size of the fly, the head's not that big, but if we had it just stuck with the metal tubing, the head would have been, sizably bigger for sure. Alright, we'll just whip finish this. Then I'll show you what we do for the junction tube on these patterns, how we fish them. Okay, so just whip finish it twice. Again, you put time and quite a bit of money into this fly. You don't want to have it falling apart. Okay, we'll just take it off the mandrel. You can see it's a pretty sleek looking fly. And it's, it's big. This is a 1.5 inch tube. You just kind of pull out some of the fibers. 1.5 inch tube, but you can see you end up with a pattern that's, pretty long. Hey, like any of our patterns that are on plastic, we'll just cut a millimeter or 2 left, and we'll make a lip on the front like we did at the very start of this pattern. Alright, so I'm just going to show you how we set this up for fishing. We've got our flex tubing, bright orange, but it's also transparent too. We'll just cut this so it's square. Okay, we'll carefully add it to the back of our tube. And this stuff goes on pretty easy, but stays on quite well also. Okay, so now we've got our pattern. Flex tube coming out the back, and where you want to place the hook is up to you. We usually take it pretty far back. I mean, you could go right against the pattern here. We usually go about 1/2 inch or so, especially if you're going for bigger fish. So you've got your junction tube on now. Okay, and I mean, if you can imagine our leader going through and out the back, and then of course the best part about flex tubing is it works great as a junction tube. You tie on your hook, and then just cinch it right into your flex tube. Except we didn't get it on properly. So you definitely want it, because this fly has a definite top to it, and definite side, you want to make sure, especially if you're using a double hook here, that the two prongs go down. Or single, of course, if the one prong goes down, just to keep it as a keel in the water and keep it well flowing. And you can see quite often the jungle cock will get lost a little bit underneath the wing. That's fine. When it gets wet, the jungle cock kind of pops out no matter where in the fly it is. Okay, so we'll just finish that with a little bit of nail polish or whatever varnish you want to use. And again, because this is a fly that you've put a lot of time into, probably a lot of money, we let the varnish dry and then come back 2 or 3 times and varnish it again. Alright, and that's the General Practitioner Intruder, and this is the light version. A little bit different than the last time we tied it.